Hi guys, welcome back to Guyset, a guy's guide to what should be talked about. There's a moment that happens a few years after college where you look around at your life and ask, am I settling? Like, are there things in my life that I'm settled in? And it's really easy to feel like you're settled in a few different areas in your life during this time where it's been a few years since you've been forced to make a lot of big changes, move somewhere, move in with people, kind of start doing things on your own, get a new job, maybe get a second new job. And you look around and you think, have I settled down too much? Like, am I getting a little bit too complacent? Are there areas in my life that I'm happy in, I'm content in, but I know that I'm not that happy, or I know that I'm not as happy as I could be had I tried something different, or had I taken a different risk, or had I taken a different route or a different road. And there are things in which you're like, I kind of think I'm a little bit settled here, and I feel a little bit complacent or a little content, and not in like the best way, like in a way of I wish or I'd like to do things a little bit differently. And not everything is settling. Like, I do think some people really do find their thing and what they're interested in and what they want to do after college and their person, and they find the person they want to date and the person they want to marry, and they find where they want to live and what they like to do, and they really do find all of that. And I don't think that's settling. Like, I think there are a lot of circumstances or some circumstances where people are just really happy and they start to kind of climb naturally, and they progress naturally, and they get promotions, and they climb whatever ladder they're climbing and feel really good in what they're doing. But that doesn't happen for everyone. And I'd probably go out on a limb and say that doesn't happen for most people. Like, most people don't just leave college or a few years after college, find everything that they thought they were meant to do and every person they thought they were meant to meet, and just feel really good in where they're at. Like, I think for most people that they're not going to relate to what I was saying as, like, you leave college and you find the thing that you want to do and you get that great job, or you find that moment or that thing in your career where you're like, this is what I want to be doing, and I want to keep climbing at this company, or I want to do this thing, and I found the girl that I want to get married to, and I want to get engaged. And like, that doesn't happen for most people. It definitely happens for some, but for most, I would say that that is not the scenario. That's not the situation or the circumstance. And it doesn't always come naturally and easy. And a lot of the time, you start to find your thing, or you start somewhere and you fall into a routine or a job, or you start to live somewhere and that is just now where you live, and you start to date someone and that is just kind of now who you date. And it's hard to break out from any of those things once you get used to it, or once you get used to them. We get complacent and we like the way that things are, even if we feel like something is missing or not completely right. And it's really hard to just like shake it all up, Chicago, because something may not potentially work out if you do shake it up. Like, if you decide to leave a job, or you decide to leave the girl you're seeing, or you decide to move cities, like, it may not work. You may then end up in a city that you don't actually like, or you may end up in a place where you feel even more alone, or even more kind of like, I don't really know what I'm doing. You may take a job where you feel even more lost than you did before, or more off the path you thought you would be on. You may date somebody else you like even less and be like, fuck, I wish I had what I used to have. And the fear of what could happen if you do try, or if you do take a risk, holds us back a lot of the time from ever even trying. And that leads us into that question of, am I settled? Have I been complacent? Am I settled down into something that is good but is not great? Am I settled into something that like I'm happy with, but I know there's something more for me if I had taken that risk, or if I still do take that risk? But what could potentially go wrong, or what might potentially happen, holds us back from even trying in the first place. And you know that you could try your hand at something else, but that still might be the wrong thing. And that attitude towards change pushes us back into that routine where we feel like we're settling. And we all have to start somewhere with something. Like, you have to take your first job or start going on dates or move somewhere or live somewhere. Like, we all have to find our first thing that we're going to do. And from there, it becomes really hard to break out from that thing, because then you have to start over again and you have to start from the top again. And you're like, oh, I just did that. Like, I just learned how to live in this, or I just learned what to do when I got here. I just learned how to deal with all these people and communicate with this boss and work with these people. And I just learned how to communicate with this girl. Like, you're telling me now that I learned all this, I have to then wipe the slate clean and start over? Like, why the hell would I want to do that? Because I just learned how to do all this. I just dealt with all of the uncomfortableness of starting a new job or of moving somewhere or of dating this new person. And now you're telling me that I have to do it again if I'm not that happy? Because, like, that sounds like even more of a bad or a hard experience. And I just did that. Like, why would I want to do that again? And what I'm saying is that, yeah, that's kind of the point of this. And that's kind of the point of our 20s, is that these are the moments where we are told, or this new kind of phenomenon, that our 20s are this time where we're experiencing the most change and we're supposed to be experiencing the most change. And it's also the time in which we need to take risks and we need to try new things and we need to put ourselves out there and keep dealing with these immense amount of changes again and again and again and on top of each other and stacking up and stacking up and stacking up. And living in it, living through it, it doesn't make it easy. It doesn't make it any easier. Like, you hear the sentiment of, like, in your 20s, you should go try things. You should go do everything. You should go be whoever you want to be. You should go move somewhere. You should go live somewhere else. You should go take a new job, take a new risk, start the company, date the girl. Like, do all of the things that you want to do, because this is the only time in your life that you're able to do that. Because it's the time where you have the least amount of responsibilities, the time where you have the least amount of things you have to worry about, the time in your life, the least amount of things you have to do. And this is the only time in which you can take those risks. This is the only time in which you can try all the things you want to try. And we hear all of that, and we know that that is what we're supposed to be doing, but that doesn't make the change any easier. That doesn't make the change any lighter. That doesn't make having to start again or start something new any easier. And once you're in something, it becomes much harder to break out of it again and start over and start again. So I'm going to share what I think are the 3 biggest areas that people find themselves settling in, and how to tell if you're actually settled in them. So the first one, and I've mentioned all of them so far, but the first one I want to talk about is your career. And I think I have a pretty good personal experience to talk to about this, and it's about leaving my first job. I was in my first job for about 2 years, and I knew after about a year and a half, when I had the conversation about my review and where I'd be going in the next year, what I'd be doing, the projects I'd be working on, what was expected of me, what I wanted to do, the growth I saw for myself and the growth that the company saw for me, that there wasn't a lot more for me to do at that company. Like, there wasn't a lot of movement available, there wasn't a lot of promotion available, there wasn't a lot of salary available. Like, it just didn't feel like a place where I could really continue to grow. And I was kind of like shuddered by that, because I was like, well, I've gotten a really great start here. Like, I've learned so much. I think I've grown so much already, but it came to like a halt where I was like, there's not much more for me to do here. Like, there's not much more movement available. There's not much more growth available. And then I got this opportunity to take a new job and to take a new interview, and I got reached out to, like, without even really exploring new opportunities. But it was around the same time of me being like, I think I need to go somewhere else. I think I need to do something else. And it was kind of this like fate moment where I got a LinkedIn reach out from somebody saying like, hey, I'm interested in what you're doing, and I'd love you to bring those efforts to what we're starting here. And I was just kind of like, whoa, like, I'm not ready for that. Like, I'm not ready for a new change. Like, at the same time as I was like, I think I need to leave and go do something else, the fear of starting something else and not being comfortable really scared me and really held me back. And it made my decision really hard. Because at the same time as I was ready to take on something new, I was really comfortable in that first job. Like, I knew what my expectations were. I knew the time I had to get there every day. I knew the time I could leave every day. I knew that I could take a nice long lunch break. I knew I had great friends there. I knew I had fun happy hours to go to. Like, I really liked the life I was living during that job. I liked the perks that came with it. I actually liked the work I was doing. But I just didn't see much growth, and there wasn't much growth for me. And I've talked about this too. I did a whole episode called like I left my job, or I'm leaving your first job, something like that. And I was really like stuck between a rock and a hard place of, do I leave and go take on a new experience that I think will be amazing and I think will be really great for me? But it's a huge risk because I don't really know what I'm getting into. I don't know if I'm good enough to take on this job. I don't know if I have the skill set that I'm presenting that I have, or that this person thinks that I have. I don't know if I can handle all the responsibilities, or if I'm going to measure up to what this person expects of me, or what I think I can try and do here. All of those kind of doubts and worries and anxieties bubbled up to the surface when I was presented with an opportunity to change. When I was presented with a moment of like, hey, this is something that you should probably do, but you are so comfortable in what you're in that why would you want to change that up? And I had this like angel and devil on my shoulder being like, you need to go take on a new opportunity. Like, it's right in front of you. Like, just take it with both hands. It's right there. Why not take it? And then the other kind of thing on my shoulder was like, yeah, but you're so comfortable. Yeah, but you're so happy. Like, you're really content. And that's kind of what I was saying earlier. I was like, I was really happy, but I knew that there was more for me. I knew I wanted more for myself, but I was happy, but I was content, but I felt really good in what I was doing, but I was really comfortable. And taking on this risk, doing this new thing, would put me in a really uncomfortable situation, would put me in a position that I had never been in before. It was just completely out of my comfort zone, that would challenge me, that would kind of take me in a completely new direction and really test me mentally, emotionally, like see what I could do. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do this. And I actually said no to the job. I took the first couple calls with the person who was the CEO of the company, and I said like, I thank you so much for the opportunity, but I'm gonna pass right now. And I can't believe I said no, but it was comfortable, and I was content, and honestly, I was complacent, and I was fully settled. And that's like way too soon to be settled, like a year and a half after college, to be like, I'm happy with what I'm doing. Like, the salary wasn't what I wanted, but wasn't what I had hoped for, but like, I really liked everything else. And I was like, I'm not gonna leave this really comfortable box that I'm in to take this risk. I really, like, looking back, cannot believe I said no to that. Like, that if I would have slapped myself across the face had me now been talking to that version of me, because that is insane that I turned that down because I was so comfortable. Like, I would look back at that person and be like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you have an amazing opportunity right in front of you and you're unhappy at this current moment. Like, yes, maybe 93% of the time you're super happy, but 7% of the time, you know you want more for yourself. You know you want bigger things. You know you want bigger opportunities and bigger chances to prove yourself and to challenge yourself and to put yourself in rooms with people that know a lot more than you. You know you want that. That 7% was really loud during that moment, but the 93% that was like, you're comfortable, you're happy, you go, you get some coffee, you get to talk to your friends, you get like a nice long lunch break, you get to leave at 4:30 or 5, you get to like go work out before work, you get to go hang out with friends after. Like, that 93% really outweighed the 7 for me at that moment. And maybe those percentages aren't as accurate as I'm saying, but like, looking back, it really did feel like I was so outweighed by the comfortability, by the settled that I was. And lucky for me, the CEO pushed back and was like, really? Like, what can I do? Like, what can we do to get you? And I was like, oh, whoa, wait, hold on. Like, maybe I'm like completely undervaluing myself. Like, maybe I'm like, all this doubt, all of this kind of like anxiety that bubbled up to the surface, like maybe that really kind of clouded my judgment, and I was like really undervaluing what I could really bring. And he was like, well, I have this person I want you to meet. She'd be your new boss. And I met with her and I was like, oh, done, sold. Like I was like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, why would I ever turn this down? Like, I was like, I have this door opened right in front of me. Like, it felt like the one of my first job was kind of closing. And then I turn around and start walking just to see what else would happen. And this other one just opened up right in front of me. Like, how could I not sprint through that? And then I said yes. And I kind of got this like second chance where I probably shouldn't have, but I tell you this story to say that like, it's really hard when you're presented with change and when you're presented with knowing that you should change and knowing that you're going to be taking a risk and take a risk on yourself. It's really hard to step into that, to want to go into that, knowing that you're going to put yourself in a really uncomfortable position. It's much easier to back up and say like, and take 2 steps back and be like, actually, I'm good here. Like, actually, I'm going to stay right where I am because I know this. I know I can stay standing up where I am before. Like, I don't know if I take 2 steps forward and walk through that door, if I'm going to fall flat on my face, if I'm going to be laying down on the floor for a while, if I'm not going to ever get back up if I go to take that risk or if I go to do that. And I know where I am right now. I'm really comfortable and I'm really settled and I'm good. It's so much harder to take those 2 steps forward and walk through that door. It's so much harder. So I've been there before. Like I know firsthand how hard it can be to take a risk on yourself and to try something new when you feel settled. I think career is probably the biggest one of the places in our lives in our 20s going into our 30s where we can feel really settled, when we can kind of lose that ambition we once had for ourselves or that idea that we once had for ourselves that we wanted something more, something bigger, something greater. And we decide that what we're in right now is good enough and what we're doing right now is okay. And I feel good. I feel comfortable. I have a job. I get a paycheck. I feel like what I'm doing is fine. It's much easier to stay there, and it's really easy to lose that spark you once had or that ambition you once had when you get comfortable, when you settle into that routine. So I think career is probably the biggest one, and especially when you feel like you really haven't found your thing and you don't know if you're ever going to find your thing or the thing that drives you, the thing that you want to do for the rest of your life, the thing that you think is your purpose or your meaning or your why. When you don't find that yet or when you haven't found that yet, it's really hard to leave what you're in to take a risk and go try and find something new that might potentially not be that too. So I'm saying all of that to let you know that I've been there before, and I'm in it. I'm in it now. Like I'm always kind of in it. I feel like everybody's kind of in that. Like, am I doing what I should be doing? Am I settled? Am I pushing myself? Am I taking enough risks? Am I even taking a risk, or am I just complacent? Am I just content? And when you feel unmotivated and uninspired, and when you're in that, it's really hard to get out of that. Like if you've been in a job or you've been in a company for a while that like doesn't feel like it motivates you, but at the same time, you're in a routine, you're doing the same thing day to day. You know when you get there, you know when you leave, you know what's expected of you, you know what you have to do every single day. It's hard to kind of like be like, well, what's more for me? Like, what else could I even do? Like, what do I want to do? Like, it's hard to really get out of that. And at the end of this episode, I'm going to tell you, or I'm going to share the questions that I think you can ask yourself to know or to start to understand or realize if you're settled or if you feel settled. And then I'm going to talk about ways in which that I think you can start to make a move or just start to reinvigorate that spirit and get out from that settled feeling if that's something you want to do. The next one I want to talk about is with where you live, which I think is probably the second biggest thing that people get really settled in this time in our lives or in our mid to late 20s, 30s, in that time period. And I was talking to a friend recently who is thinking about moving somewhere that he's never lived before. and he wants to live there, but he's not really sure if it's the right move to make or the right place to go. And I said, like, well, what is kind of like driving you to want to do that? Like, what is the motivation to live there? And he talked about all the reasons that he wants to live there and why he thinks it'd be a great place to live. And all of it sounded incredibly sound. And all of it sounded like a thing that this person should do. Like, the way in which he was talking about it, he was obviously very passionate about this place, wanting to live there, thought it was the right kind of distance, the right place, just kind of everything felt perfect. And I was like, so what's stopping you? And his reasons are different than the next guy's reasons are different than the next guy's reasons. But ultimately, it was the same kind of doubts and fears and anxieties that I had about leaving the job that were translating to moving somewhere else. And it's the same kind of questions and doubts that bubble up to the surface of like, well, I don't know if that's right for me, or I don't know if I'm even going to like it. Like, how am I supposed to know if I'm going to like it or if I'm supposed to be doing that? And honestly, I like where I am right now. Like, I feel comfortable. I feel good. I feel happy in what I'm in right now. How do I know I'm going to like that anymore or any better? And why, how do I determine that? And it's those same fears and that same mentality and that like same angel devil situation of like, you should go try something new. You should go put yourself in a place that you think you're going to like just because you think you're going to like it. Like, you're going to find out a lot of new stuff about yourself. You're going to grow from the experience. You're going to learn so much. You're going to meet new people. You're going to put yourself in a new place. You're going to try new things, take new risks, take new chances, take a chance on yourself, and you're going to be a better person for it. You're going to come out on the other side a better person for it and because of it. So go do it. Like, you have an inkling, you have a desire, you have a want to go try that, go do it. Go try. And on the opposite side, you have this guy being like, yeah, but you're good right now. Like, yeah, but you're happy in where you are. Like, why would you get rid of this? Why take the risk or take the chance of, putting yourself in through all of that and through all that change with the chance that you may hate it, with the kind of idea that like this might be not good. This might put you in a place where you're unhappy and you're not in a good spot. Like, why even take that chance? Why take that risk on yourself? You're happy right now. You're good in where you're at. You feel content. You feel kind of settled. Stay here. Like, don't take that risk. Don't do all of that. Don't put yourself through all that for the off chance that it may not work or for the chance that you may not like it. So you have to still kind of balance those two arguments of like, should I go grow and try and do, or should I stay? Should I stay settled? Should I stay in what I'm currently in and what I currently know? And I do firmly believe that this time in our lives, in our early, middle, late 20s, early 30s, is the time where you should try new things and step out of your comfort zone and do whatever it takes to get yourself out of your comfort zone. Live somewhere new, take a risk on yourself, and try something. And that is a very popular sentiment nowadays, that your 20s are the only time in your life when you can do this type of thing, when you can go live somewhere else, when you can go completely forget about your responsibilities where you are right now and go do something new, go try something new, because it is the only time in your life where you will have the least amount of responsibilities, because you're only really paying for yourself and your rent or your portion of the rent if you live with roommates or a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and you don't have a family, and you don't have a mortgage, you don't have all this kids and this other shit, like not the kids are shit, but like you don't have all this other shit to deal with and all this other shit to put up with, and you don't have to be responsible for all this other stuff that like does stack up as you get older. Like, maybe this is the only time in our lives where you have the least amount of responsibilities, and when you get older, like, you have all of these things that matter and these things you have to tend to and care for and be really present for, whereas right now you can go try, you can go take risks, you can go take chances, and you can fail, because failing just puts you back to where you were before. It's not like you have this like catastrophic thing that happens to you if it doesn't work out. If the job you go try, you get fired from, or you hate and you decide to leave. If the place you move to, you don't actually really end up liking, so you go back to where you were before. Like, the only real failure is just going back to the place you were in before, to that starting point. But you have all that experience, you have all that knowledge, you have all of that growth that you did not have before. You have all of that kind of newly developed mindset that you wouldn't have had otherwise. So there really is no failure. There really is no, failure isn't an option in any of this. And me saying all of that doesn't make it any easier. Like, just because you heard some guy on a podcast, and I hope I'm not just some guy on a podcast to you, but just because you heard some guy on a podcast say, this is the only time in your life to take risks, or you heard somebody else say it, or you heard advice from somebody that said, like, you should go try, like, go do it. Why not? What do you have to lose? Just because you heard that, it doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't make this decision any lighter or doesn't make it come easier to you. Like, it doesn't just, dissolve all of the doubts and the worries and the fears that you have swirling around in your head. It doesn't make all of that disappear. It doesn't just go away because I told you that this is the time in your life to take risks. It doesn't make it easier to decide to leave your job and go find a new one. It doesn't make it any easier to pack up all your stuff and decide to live somewhere else. It doesn't make any of that any easier or any lighter or any less. And that's what makes this question of, am I settling, so hard to answer, because you have all of these like back and forth balances of like, maybe, but like, I'm good. And I don't know what's on the other side if I go try. And the last one, the third kind of category or part of your life that I think that this question really relates to of, am I settling, is with dating and with relationships. And there's a couple different scenarios here. Maybe you haven't hooked up with somebody in a while or haven't had sex in a while, so you're like, fuck it, I'm going to go try with the next person. Like, I'm going to go hook up with this next person because it's been a while. Or maybe you have gone on a slew of bad dates, and the next person you see, you're determined to make work. Like, you're like, I know this is going to be the one because it's been so many bad ones that this one just has to work. So you go on a lot more dates with this person, or maybe you get into a relationship with this because it's been so long and you want something. So you just you kind of will it. You kind of force this person to be the person you wanted them to be, even though they're probably not. Or maybe they are. Hopefully they are. Or maybe you've been in a relationship for a long time that you know isn't right, and you know something isn't right, and you know that you want something else or something more, but because you've been in it for so long and it's good and it's easy and it's good enough. Maybe it's just good enough. Maybe this is what it's supposed to be, and you've convinced yourself that this is what it's supposed to be. Maybe you're in that position. Maybe that's the scenario for you. There's so many with dating. Maybe you know that it's not working, but you don't want to admit that to yourself or the other person because that will put you back to square one. And you've been in a relationship for a long time. You don't know how to date again. You don't know how to put yourself back out there again. And you don't know if this ends, there will be somebody else for you. All of those doubts swirl around. You don't know that there might not be any better. There might not be somebody else. So you stay settled. Maybe this person is great, but they're not your great. And there are so many kind of scenarios in terms of settling in dating and relationships. And I think that actually might be one of the biggest. I'm saying each one of them is the biggest. But I really feel like career and dating are the two kind of bookends here of the settling book, whether you're in a relationship for a long time and it's going great or it's going well enough, or you're in a job for a long time and it's going well enough. Those are the positions or the places where I feel like people find themselves settling in most. So now you might be asking, well, Josh, how do I know if I'm settling? I hear you talk about settling as these kind of three buckets of dating, of where you live, of career, but how do I know if I'm settling in those personally? So here is how to figure out if you're settling, or the questions you can ask yourself to help determine if you are settling in each of these areas. And I'm going to take this one by one with your career, with where you live, and with dating in the same order that I took them to start the episode. So, for your career, ask yourself, is there something missing? Is there something I want to do more of? Is there something I want to try? Is there something I could see myself doing that I haven't gotten to do yet, or I might never get to do if I stay doing what I'm currently doing? That's a longer one, but basically to say, Is there something I want to do that I can't do at this job? Is there something I want to try that this opportunity does not present me with? Is there something I want to do that I have not done yet? Those are the questions that I think will help determine if you are settling in your career or in your job. For where you live, ask yourself, are you happy where you are now? Is there somewhere else you want to explore, somewhere else you see yourself living, or somewhere you haven't lived yet that you want to live? And if you're in I really do want to live somewhere else, but I don't know if that place is right for me, take a trip. Take a weekend trip there and put yourself in the place where you see yourself. Make it a weekend. Bring a friend with you if you want to, or just go on your own and kind of see what the place has to offer. And if you can make it a long weekend, make it a long weekend. I think that's the best way to really see if you're going to like a place. And I think that's the best thing that my summer internship in New York City gave me, is that it really made me realize that I wanted to live here after I graduated. I thought I did, but after getting to spend like 8 to 10 weeks here, I realized that I really did. And if you're not in a position to spend 8 to 10 weeks somewhere, which I'm assuming you're not because you're probably in a job, or maybe you're not, like wherever you are, whatever stage you're in, at least take a weekend trip there and see what the nightlife is like. See what a Saturday would look like if you spent it there walking around. See what the food scene is like and the restaurants are like. Really immerse yourself in it for a weekend. And instead of being like, well, I don't know if I'm going to like it, go see. Go test it out. It's the best way to trial a place and see if that is somewhere you could see yourself living. And you'll know pretty quickly if you feel overwhelmed by the place, if it feels like it matches your vibe, if it is kind of what you expected it to be, or it's a little bit different. And if you get to it and you're like, oh, I don't know, like that doesn't mean that it's not the place for you. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't at least try it for 6 months or a year. Like, that is the great part, and what our 20s affords us is an opportunity to go try and live somewhere else for an extended period of time. So take a weekend and make it a weekend out of it, like go put yourself in the place instead of having all that answers a lot of the questions for you if you can do that. And then for dating, ask yourself, if the person you're seeing or going on dates with, can you really be yourself around them? Is it easy to be around them? Do they add to your life? Do they make your life better? If those questions are met with yeses, then that's great. Like, you're in an amazing spot with the person you're seeing. And if those questions aren't met with yeses, that is not an immediate reason to break up with this person. That doesn't mean that you're not in the right relationship. That doesn't mean that this isn't the right thing for you. You might be going through a season with this person. You might be going through like a fight with them. You might be going through a moment where you're doubting. That doesn't necessarily mean you need to break up or you should break up. But if those questions aren't met with yeses, it takes a little bit of a deeper reflection into your happiness, into the state of your relationship. If there are things you can work on, if there are conversations you can have, if there are things you can say to this person to fix the things, if there are things you can say to the person to make things better, make things easier, make things right again, put things back to where they were before. It's just kind of a great internal mental check-in. Like, all of these questions for career, for dating, for where you live, like, are good questions to be asking yourself all the time. And we're not doing that a lot. Like, these aren't things we do a lot where we sit and reflect and take a moment and like take stock in where our life is right now, or like check in with our happiness or our level of contempt and complacency. Like, we don't really do that a lot. And I'm not saying we have to do it all the time, but I do think it's good to check in every once in a while and ask yourself, am I happy in this relationship? Am I happy in my job, or is there something I want to be doing more of? Do I like where I live, or is there somewhere else I want to go try? Somewhere else I really could see myself living? These are the ways that I think you can decide and determine if you're settling, and answer the question, am I settling in these different areas of your life? It's a good way to see if you want to go try something new. It's a good way to see if it's time to try something new. Meet some new people, think about a move, try applying for a new job, put yourself out there, take a risk, make a change. And instead of asking yourself, am I settling? Ask yourself those questions that I presented to you that indirectly answer the big question of, am I settling? Because am I settling is a very intimidating question. When you saw the episode of this title, you may be like, that's intimidating. Like, whoa. Like, that's how I would feel if I saw that question or if I asked myself that question. And when faced with that, most of us would say no or would just shy away from it and be like, no, I'm not settling. Like, I'm happy. I'm good. Like, I'm trying. I'm doing things. I'm putting myself out. And you would come up with all these things and be like, no. And you would immediately be like, kind of get defensive about it and be like, I'm not settling. Because it's an intimidating and pretty big question. But asking yourself the surrounding questions in a way kind of piece together your answer to it and like chip away at the bigger question of, are you settling, or how you're feeling about where you're at right now. And look, it's easy for me to get on here and be like, take the fucking biggest risks of your life right now, because like this is the only time you have to do that. But the disconnect from saying that and doing that is so real. And I listen to all of the podcasts. Like, I listen to everything that's out there, all of the advice, and I use all of that to inform what I bring to you on here and what I say on here and how I formulate these episodes and the topics I talk about and what I want to talk about. Like, the purpose and one of the biggest things that always drives me every week is like, what would I want to see when I was younger? Like, what would younger Josh really benefit from? And I know that when I hear all of that advice that's like, take the biggest fucking risk of your life right now. Like, this is your 20s. Like, take it by the fucking neck, strangle it and run. Like, that motivates me. It does. Like, I always feel inspired by those. But then when it comes time to be like, okay, so what's the risk? Like, what now what? I don't know. There's a massive disconnect for me between all of the advice, all of the sentiment, all of the things out there that are telling you that this is the time in your life to take the risks, and actually taking the risk. And that is why I wanted to do this episode. That's why I wanted to kind of open up this conversation, is because that disconnect is so real between the two things. And it is also easy to stay scared and stay in the place where you feel good or believe that good is good enough, because that feeling is comfortable. And it's hard to let go of that and try something new, because that means you have to let go of that. And the thing is, I do believe that this is an amazing time to bet on yourself and take a risk, because I know firsthand from a couple different experiences that you come out on the other side so much stronger for it, that you learn so much about yourself, that by putting yourself in a position where you do not know what the outcome is going to be, that you aren't sure you're going to be able to measure up to or do what is expected of you, by dealing with all of that, you grow so much. Like, in the job that I decided to take, that I left my first one for, I learned more in the first 6 months than I learned in the 1.5 to 2 years at that job. I learned more in the 6 months than I had in the past 4 years of internships and everything else I had done. I learned more about myself, about the workplace, about working with people, about other people, about literally everything I could have imagined. Things that I bring with me every single day of life, I learned at that job, that I will probably bring with me for the rest of my life, that I would not have had that had I stayed comfortable, had I stayed put, had I stayed in what I thought was best for me at the time, because I thought that being comfortable or staying seated in that place was where I would belonged, and I didn't think there was more for me. And I think the reason we lean so hard into the idea of comfort and into complacency is because the only consistent thing throughout your 20s is change. And I think the reason we lean so hard into the ideas of comfort and complacency and content are because the only consistent thing in this time in our lives is change. So when you find something that makes you feel all right and feel safe and feel good, why would you want to shake that up again just to go through that phase of change again? Why would you want to have to put yourself through all of that again? And we fear what we don't know. So when we finally get to a place where we're good, why have to get all anxious again? Why have to have all those doubts and those fears again? Like, why would I want to put myself in that position? And I know that's uncomfortable. Like, I know how uncomfortable that is. But I really do believe that this is the time in our lives that we can start to understand that you can do big things, that you can make big changes, that there is nothing holding you back. And one of the best ways to start is to just try it out. Like I said with that weekend trip, like to a place that you think you might want to live, by testing it out, by giving it a trial period, bring that same piece of advice into each of the categories. Maybe not for the dating one. Like if you're in a relationship, like don't go saying that like, well, I heard on this podcast that like I should just go date around because like that's the best way to know. No, not for dating. But for your career, maybe it's exploring a new job or seeing what else is out there, or taking a phone call with somebody that you think has an interesting job or is in an interesting position or is in a cool company, getting a coffee with somebody, kind of scheduling a coffee chat, like asking somebody to pick their brain about what they do, networking. Like there are things that you can do that where you currently are to see other things before you take the leap, before you go try something else out, that can answer some of those or mitigate some of those doubts and those fears that you have about if you're going to be right for this job or if you can handle it. Like there are things you can do to kind of set yourself up for success or prepare yourself a little bit more for that next thing you're going to do. And here's the big thing about change is that nobody is going to give you permission or tell you it's okay to do it. Nobody is going to tell you, yes, you can do that, or no, you shouldn't do that. A lot more people are going to tell you shouldn't do that than will tell you to do it. A lot of people will tell you that, like, maybe that's not the best idea, or like, that's a big risk you're taking. Like, at the end of the day, it's completely up to you to make that change. And nobody is going to tell you to do it. Nobody is going to hold your hand through it. Of course, you can lean on the people in your life and you can find advice and you can get other perspectives about if what you're doing is good or if you should go try it. But at the end of the day, it is entirely up to you to make that change. At the end of the day, it is entirely up to you to start believing in yourself and recognize if there is an area in your life that you're settling in and if it's time to make a change in that place. Nobody is going to make you do it. Nobody is going to tell you that you have to do it. That's the biggest difference about this time in our lives, is that there's nobody giving you a permission slip to tell you that it's time to make a change. There is nobody that's going to tell you that, like, you should make that career shift, that you should leave the job, that you should leave the relationship, that you should try something new, that you should live somewhere else. All of the big advice says that. But for you personally and in your specific situation, nobody's going to kind of push you to do that. Nobody is going to tell you that you have to do that. It is entirely up to you, and it is ultimately up to you to do that. And with how uncomfortable change is and how hard it is to take a risk, and with that angel and devil on your shoulder telling you that it's easier to stay settled, it's easier to stay comfortable, it's easier to stay where good is good enough, it becomes even harder. So it is completely up to you to kind of look at the areas of your life and determine if you feel settled in one of them. Look at the areas of your life and see if there is a place that you want to make a change. So to answer the question, am I settling or are you settled? I can't tell you that. Only you can answer that question for yourself. Only you can take a look at the areas of your life and see if there is something missing, if you want something more for yourself, if you believe that you can do more or be greater or be bigger or whatever else. That is the episode. Thank you so much for listening to Guyset, a guy's guide to what should be talked about. I'm Josh. I'm 25 years old, and I'm here every single week, every single Tuesday, to talk about what should be talked about for guys. If you like this episode, I really hope you did. Please like, subscribe to this podcast. 5 stars. Maybe that's 1, 2, 4, 5 stars, not 4, not 3, not 2, not 1. It's 5 stars. Thank you so much, and I really, really appreciate that. If you have a question you want to talk about that should be talked about for guys, head over to my website, guyset.com, Guyset.com. There's an Ask Me Anything box right there. You can ask me anything you want to talk about, anything that should be talked about, and I will do a full episode on it. I will bring it into the Dear Guyset episode and answer your question. Thank you so much for anybody that's wrote in, anybody asks me questions. You help make this podcast work and go around. because that is the whole purpose. The whole point is to answer the questions that guys are asking. You can find daily blog posts on Guyset.com answering the questions that guys are asking across dating, career, mindset, style, lifestyle, really everything I talk about on here. It's just an extension over there. It's like the extension of Guyset Universe on the website. So just more questions, more answers, more advice, more perspectives. I post about I was gonna say it's great. It is. I post 3 to 4 blog posts every single day. I'm so excited about what I'm building over there. Just like kind of my whole vision for Guyset coming to life with the podcast, with the website, all of it. I also started a new podcast. It's called If You're Going on a Date This Week. It will be coming out every Monday and Thursday, and it's based on an idea that I've been doing for about a year now on Instagram and TikTok, where I run through 5 to 7 pop culture topics, things going on in TV and in movies, in music, in sports and entertainment, in pop culture in general, so that you can bring them on your date. I start every video and every one of those podcasts by saying, if you're going on a date this week, here is what you could talk about, or here's what you could talk about. And basically, it's just that you can get a rundown of what's going on in the world, so you can have some knowledge or just know a little bit about what the other person might be thinking about or watching or listening to. And I don't know, I think first dates are really just a time to get to know somebody, see if you like their vibe and if you want to hang out with them again. And they're not that serious, so none of the topics I bring on there are very serious. Today's episode, I'm going to talk about Tiger Woods' car crash and DUI. I'm going to talk about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce at the iHeartRadio Awards. I'm going to talk about the Super Mario Galaxy movie, like just kind of sharing what's going on in the world. And I think it's really fun. So you can find that on the same YouTube channel at Guyset on YouTube and anywhere you listen to podcasts. It's just called If You're Going on a Date This Week. Yeah, just another fun thing that I'm doing. I had been thinking about it for a while. I do the video every single Wednesday, and I was like, might as well make it a podcast, right? So you can find that anywhere you listen to podcasts too. And yeah, thank you so much for listening to Guyset, a guy's guide to what should be talked about, and I will see you guys next Tuesday. See you guys.